Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So over the last couple of months, we've been talking heavily about RLUSD since it did launch back in December. And ever since, we've been seeing basically up only around RLUSD, from not only the minting of RLUSD, but the partnerships, the moves being made behind RLUSD from Ripple expanding their payments markets. This has definitely been a big focus from my point of view. Now, a lot of people don't understand the benefits that RLUSD does have for an example, XRP. They actually think that RLUSD is going to be negative for XRP, but in fact, it actually reinforces XRP's overall use case. When we think about what a stablecoin means, it's basically just tokenized fiat. We are going to have multiple stablecoins out there where it reinforces the idea of XRP being a bridge currency. But the number one thing that I am looking at when it comes to RLUSD itself is if this becomes the number one stablecoin in this market, and we have hundreds of billions of dollars moving over RLUSD, and maybe it's settled out on the XRP ledger, for an example, that means a lot of volume on the XRP ledger. Also, RLUSD, a stablecoin itself, right, enables a lot more use cases on the underlying network. For an example, DeFi use cases, that could mean lending and borrowing. It could mean just DeFi protocols in general. There's a lot that happens after you have a stablecoin that gets unlocked. And that's the number one thing that I think every XRP holder should actually be focused on, is what happens now that we do have a stablecoin like RLUSD. And I'm sure that a lot of you have already been aware of some of the moves being made around the XRP ledger to actually enable a lot of those DeFi use cases that I just mentioned. We do know that the lending and borrowing protocol is incoming very soon. But the fact that RLUSD is already at $160 million in terms of supply is significant. Now, they did say that a growing number of Ethereum addresses are holding the token, which means, yes, a lot of demand is on Ethereum. Even if we go over to RL_tracker, we could see, on the 21st, 7 million RLUSD was minted at the RLUSD treasury. Then 25 million was minted at the RLUSD treasury as well. Again, these two are on Ethereum. This one was on XRP. It's about 3.2 million. Pretty good to see a little bit of volume there. Then 6.5 million again on Ethereum, 2.3 million on Ethereum, and then towards the beginning of the month, we did see a small, about 276,000 RLUSD minted at RLUSD Treasury. So outside of that, most of the volume definitely has been on Ethereum. But right now, if we think about this, right, this was 160 million. We're at 170, almost $7 million worth of RLUSD out there in the market, which we love to see. It's incredible to see as well. And if we look at RWA.xyz in terms of the actual XRP ledger, we could see that RLUSD, it's about 44 million on the XRP ledger, which isn't too crazy. But the last 30 days, it's up about 37.5%. Love to see it. And if we look at Ethereum, we could see the Ethereum side. So Ethereum has about 130, almost $3 million worth of RLUSD issued out on Ethereum. Now you might say, well, how does this benefit XRP then if it's issued out on Ethereum? Well, think about the EVM bridge, right? You could have a lot of that value bridged over, but I don't necessarily think that it's the whole idea of like, all right, well, RLUSD is only bullish for the XRP ledger and XRP. No, I think that's also very beneficial for Ethereum as well. I mean, we don't have to sit here and be like, all right, XRP versus Ethereum, which one's better? We know the XRP ledger is more beneficial for transactionable, use cases. We know that, transacting on Ethereum is a nightmare, but outside of that, we still see Ethereum being adopted heavily by some of the biggest institutions out there, which, what's good for Ripple USD or RLUSD is also very beneficial for the XRP ledger itself because of the fact that it is issued out on both Ethereum and the XRPL and the EVM side bridge. I think that, side chain, I should say, not side bridge. I think everyone should look at that as also a very beneficial thing for the XRP ledger because you will start to see assets like RLUSD that are on Ethereum also being able to be bridged over to the XRP ledger. But for the most part, right now, RLUSD on Ethereum, not very beneficial for XRP. But if we look at the top stablecoin tokens by market capitalization, we could see that RLUSD is right down here. 176 million, not too bad. If we can get to the first 1 billion, it would significantly move RLUSD up into the top roughly 5. Well, it's actually top 6 technically. It would move it over PayPal as well, because PayPal USD is sitting at about 844 million. So it's a pretty good start for RLUSD itself. But let's actually talk about a few things that are very bullish for RLUSD, but also even XRP. So number one, let's start off with this video clip. I did play it in a video recently, but I need to bring this back up because, again, we know that Ripple's overall goal is to get RLUSD into the top 5. If we are talking about the top 5 stablecoins by market capitalization right now, that would be about $2.5 billion. That's a big jump from where we are at now with 170, almost $7 million worth. But check this out.
If you think about the next forefront of stablecoins, now that the U.S. is getting toward clarity, what's possible?
Well, again, I think we're underestimating how big that might get. You know, today that market's about $230 billion. So I think some smart people think that may go up 10x in the next 5 years. I think that's probably right. I mean, the two leading players in Tether as well as USDC are both, I think, poised to do well in that market. Ripple launched our own stablecoin at the end of last year. That's already ahead of our own internal forecasts in terms of where we are at this point in the year. Still, we're small, but the goal is by the end of the year for RLUSD, Ripple's stablecoin, to be one of the top 5 in the market by the end of the year. And I think the whole market's going to grow dramatically over this year.
So what does it take you to get there? Who are you pairing up with? Are you creating some financial partnerships in order to make RLUSD more of a household name?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even today we had more listings go live for RLUSD on some global crypto exchanges. Anytime you do something new, it takes a minute for that kind of, the pun of the ripple effect of seeing how that plays out. And so we're seeing that happen in real time. So I'm really pleased. And again, as I said, we're ahead of our Q1 forecasts of where we expect it to be. So we feel really good about that progress.
So yeah, I mean, listen, we know that RLUSD is going to be an absolute game changer for this entire space and for Ripple itself. But again, when we think about the XRP ledger, when we think about XRP, stablecoins are going to be massive. They are going to be multiple $1 trillion plus projects in this space. Like RLUSD, in my opinion, will be valued in trillions eventually. It's not, something that anyone's going to argue with me on, because even right now, the crypto market cap around stablecoins is about 220 billion, projected to be 2.8 trillion within the next 3 years. Outside of that 3-year time frame, the next 3 years after that, we'll see stablecoins grow probably by around 5x. All right. So 10 trillion plus by 2030 for stablecoins is not something that I think sounds crazy. If we're thinking about that, the underlying networks that these stablecoins really kind of get traded on, so like, let's just say the XRP ledger, right? The XRP ledger itself will be at that point also valued in trillions. And the reason why I say that is because of tokenization. We know tokenization on the XRP ledger is moving very fast. A stablecoin is going to be crucial around any stablecoin initiative, which means RLUSD is going to grow significantly on the XRP ledger as well during the times where we start to see tokenization hitting the XRP ledger in a big way, not to even mention institutional DeFi. So the stablecoin itself is going to be very beneficial for XRP and for XRP holders and for the actual underlying networks that it is issued out on. And in this case, technically, you could also say Ethereum will see a great value from that as well. Just think about Bitcoin with like USDT, for an example. But on top of this, right, the big thing that I'm, really kind of focused on is what this means for RLUSD. What does this mean for stablecoins within the US? Because, stablecoins continue to move massive amounts of money. We have here from Bank XRP. Now he's quoting his original post talking about the updated stablecoin draft from the beginning of March. He said here that I like to think Ripple RLUSD. We're going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime, and as President Trump has directed, we're going to keep the US dollar the dominant currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. Stablecoins moved $10 trillion in 2024. He's suggesting a clever way to manage stablecoins, pushing their use under US watch to strengthen the dollar against rivals like China's digital yuan. Check it out.
And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime, and as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the US the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that.
So again, stablecoins are obviously going to be a big focus from the US. This is why I said, like, over the next couple of years, we're going to see stablecoins balloon from billions to trillions easily. A lot of people will think that that's crazy right now, but you know, in about 3 years, when we are looking back on some of these videos that I have been making, we will see that I was right. When it comes to stablecoins, it's very clear, right? Tokenized fiat currency is probably one of the best use cases around this tech, because we know that, you know, finance itself is moving on chain. We know that digital rails are needed in order for, you know, finance to actually become efficient. So it's only a matter of time. Now, on top of that, Chris Giancarlo, who is a former CFTC chairman, and he's also on the board of directors at the Digital Dollar, he recently made a post talking about pleased to present the Digital Dollar Project's comprehensive review of digital modernization of USD, stablecoins, tokenization, crypto, DLT. Within this, we have outlines limitations of existing financial infrastructure and benefits of digital modernization, identifies digital instruments such as stablecoins, tokenized deposits, and non-US CBDCs as components of digital modernization of the US dollar, defines the collaboration needed between the public and private sectors to preserve the dollar's prominence amongst digital currency networks of the 21st century. Now, within this, there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot to actually read. I don't want to waste you guys' time, so I'm going to try to be very quick with some of the things that are very important. Number one, the digital asset revolution. The digital asset revolution of the past several years has thrust the evolving world of modern money into the spotlight. Despite these advancements, the technology, though, which the dollar currently operates, is quickly demonstrating limitations in an increasingly digital world. Following years of research and collaboration on this changing dynamic, the Digital Dollar White Paper presents a review of emerging technologies and their potential to power digital modernization. And this is a quote from Chris: "Payment vehicles continue to expand from fungible cash bills and electronic notes to unique stable digital currencies such as tokenized deposits, stablecoins, and foreign CBDCs. Because of this, examination and exploration of US dollar modernization is critical to America's ability to compete in the global economy of the digitally networked 21st century." Now, again, we have a few quotes down here in terms of like the actual infrastructure around the digital dollar. They are talking about tokenized deposits, stablecoins, foreign CBDCs, and centralized and decentralized digital assets. These are going to be the key things to actually embrace the digital modernization that is happening around finance. But all of this is, very important to actually reinforce the dollar status as the world's reserve currency. Now, under here, we do have a few recommendations to support modernization. Number one is financial institutions and non-bank financial institutions should drive broader enterprise-level business cases and foster stronger industry commitment to innovative products and services. We also have financial market utilities and consortiums should align on new potential settlement and loss mutualization models along with broader risk and operational frameworks, while also driving interoperability initiatives and developing common standards. And then legislators, trade associations, and policy institutes should work together to address regulatory ambiguity and advance legislation that creates appropriate safeguards and equal opportunities for responsible innovation. And of course, we do have another quote from the co-founder of the Digital Dollar Project. As tokenized forms of fiat currencies gain broader adoption, it is critical that the US play a leading role in establishing standards and frameworks that ensure the primacy of the dollar and all that it represents. This will require active collaboration between a broad cross-section of stakeholders, and our goal for this white paper is to help inform and advance related discussions. Again, I do believe that we are going to see a big shift around some of these organizations like the Digital Dollar Project. And remember, right, their overall mission here was always to explore and catalyze research regarding modernizing the US dollar. This is one organization that I've always focused on. It's very similar to like the Digital Pound Foundation or the Digital Euro Association, which, by the way, Ripple is a part of both of them. But what's crazy about this project is, Chris Giancarlo, right? He is a big player around this company, and he is a big supporter of what Ripple has been doing. Even 5 years ago, as he did mention, he was in support of Ripple. And here we have it from Forbes back in June of 2020. He said that XRP isn't a security, declares former CFTC chairman. And this is Chris Giancarlo. And he even said here that, he anticipated this outcome almost 5 years ago regarding the fact that Ripple did basically win the lawsuit. Again, we're still waiting on the SEC to announce it, but this is basically true today. But what's crazier about all of this is what Smoke Dog did put out over on X, which is, yes, RLUSD is gaining traction and is positioned to become a notable player in the stablecoin space. And here we actually have that Ripple's lawsuit ending is bullish for RLUSD. We have here Ripple's new RLUSD stablecoin is gaining traction. It appears positioned to become a notable player in the stablecoin space, especially now that the case is basically over. And not to even mention that, but also Perian DC did put out a great post saying President Trump just said stablecoins will help expand the dominance of the US dollar. He must have read our paper. And this is their paper. Now, I don't have this open. I don't have it downloaded. But just this section here is so important. So we have stablecoins are redefining global finance, no longer limited to crypto trading, but emerging as a tool for financial empowerment worldwide. The TDC is pleased to announce our latest report, How Stablecoins Are Extending US Dollar Dominance, a policymaker's guide to action. The report explores the critical role USD-linked stablecoins play in supporting US dollar dominance and offers strategic recommendations to guide policymakers towards swift action, enabling the next evolution of the US dollar diplomacy. With 98% of stablecoins linked to the US dollar, the ecosystem presents a timely opportunity to solidify the dollar's global position and expand US financial influence. And again, when we think about how crazy the overall, moves around stablecoins have been recently, we also have to think about it like this, okay? With new stablecoin legislation, what stablecoins on this list will actually survive? I say that not to scare people or even worry people, but when we think about Tether, we know Tether has always had issues related to legislation or even regulations. Mika is a great example. Okay, USDC has been working with a lot of these public regulatory players and organizations. So I don't think that Circle really has anything to worry about. Outside of that, a few of these other ones, I don't think that they have a lot to be concerned about, but most of the stablecoins out there in this market have been delisted over in Europe because of Mika. If we are going to follow the same legislation that Europe has been pushing, which one of these stablecoins outside of Circle will actually survive? We know RLUSD is safe, but the question still remains, what's going to happen with some of these stablecoins? I put a spotlight on Ripple and I put a spotlight on RLUSD and even XRP, because when we really think about this, what better company to tap into to utilize their stablecoin in a big way to advance dollar dominance in the digital age than Ripple? It's a US-based company that's been around for over a decade. The XRP ledger and XRP has been around since 2012. We know how efficient the XRP ledger is around financial use cases. And not to mention all of the institutional players and enterprise players tied back to Ripple. And RLUSD is fully regulated. It's fully compliant and fully transparent. So when we really think about this, we could very well see RLUSD integrated within the US financial system. And we could have XRP still be that bridge currency between multiple stablecoins. If every single nation is going to have their own stablecoin or their own CBDC, XRP's use case is extremely bullish even then. In fact, it gets reinforced in a big way as that bridge currency. But also, if RLUSD is going to be tapped in with the US government, think about what that does for the underlying networks like the XRP ledger or even Ethereum. This is very, very bullish. And I do think that the ongoing discussions around stablecoins, everything is advancing so fast. I would argue that by the end of this year, we will have stablecoin regulations in place. The stablecoin market will be fully regulated. And from that point on, we will start to see major adoption of stablecoins within the government sector, but also, institutions worldwide are going to start to offering. They're going to start offering stablecoin, services, crypto services as well. It's only a matter of time. Stablecoins are a big introduction to the tokenized revolution essentially happening right now, which is only going to accelerate more and more. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.